Hello, I'm David DeCosmo. Welcome to ECTV Live. I'm joined by my co-host, Rusty Fender.
And March is almost upon us.
And March is almost upon us, and there will be marches in March.
Yeah, that's a good segue.
The big march in March is the Scranton St. Patrick's Parade. Jamie Hailstone joins us, as he does every year about this time,
Hi, Jamie.
To tell us about this year's festivities in what has become, argumentatively, the third largest St. Patrick's Parade
in the United
States. It's pretty darn impressive.
You better believe it.
But I guess we really ought to start at the very beginning, Jamie, because the parade is sort of the last thing that happens on this big day. Now,
correct.
When is the parade this year?
The parade is March 11th,
okay,
which is my sister Sarah's birthday.
Well,
and we say around my house that she grew up with a little swollen head because there was often a parade on her birthday when we were growing up, and so
good capitalization on
yes,
that.
So March 11th, actually the day begins, and as it always does for us, with Mass at the cathedral at 10 a.m. And the actual parade gets off about noon. But in between Mass and the parade is a foot race, about a 2-mile long foot race. And one of these years I'm going to run it because anyone who runs it is fascinated because the crowds are there. And you never get to run a race like that unless you're a professional athlete, to have so many people there
like
cheering for them, cheering for them like that. And so that's a lot of fun.
That's become very big, hasn't it?
Yes, it has. It's become, and it's one of those things, and we talk about our traditions within the parade, but there's so many people that this weekend is all about traditions. It's about we're going to meet Grandma and Grandpa at Cooper's. We're going to walk into town, and people have their special things. And the race is becoming, for a lot of people, they do the race, and that's the beginning of their day.
But you set a template. We had Sarah from Pittston on, which their race is this Saturday. And you sent the template with Mass at St. John's in Pittston, followed by a race, followed by the parade as well. So
and they were very appreciative of the help and advice that the promoters of Scranton were able to give to Pittston. Purposely didn't schedule theirs opposite yours or anybody else's, which is nice because once again, it's the early time of the year. Winter has not left yet. Spring hasn't really come in. You're looking for events. And to have events of this magnitude, the Pittston was grown tremendously.
Yes, it is.
And Scranton has, I don't know how you even measure the
all
growth.
on the same day would be a travesty.
Right.
They'd all be going for the same bands and the same.
Right.
Sure.
And there's just not enough pipe bands around, not enough high school bands around for everybody to share. But
with regard to and it's a walk and a run as well.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yep.
And we said that's been growing. Any idea how many participants, for instance, last year?
Last year there were over 500 runners.
Wow.
And that's, and I know we get a lot of entries before, but like anything this time of year, it's all about the weather.
And you figure that'd be commensurate with the size of the crowd too. So you get 500, you'd be smaller with a smaller crowd. So
and
so they can register the day of.
Correct. You register the day of at Lackawanna College, the former Central High School. There'll be a booth up there, and that's actually where it starts. So if they get there in the morning, they can get registered. And they'll be registering them pretty much up until the race goes off.
The route on that, Jamie, is?
The route is the parade route. And so you basically down
Washington.
and then you turn around right at the cathedral and you head back up. So it's a back route like that. Yeah. And we've had Scranton Running Company, which does a phenomenal job running races. They've been doing it the last couple of years for us, helping out, and they're a good bunch.
When you're into the running, the timing is everything, and they all have their little tags and get their specific times and such. Now, in conjunction with the race and the walk, call it run and walk, is that what your little prop you brought along?
Well, actually, no. This is, we've been doing for a few years now, a contest among high school students at Scranton High School where they will design a shirt, and it says, as you can see, we call it the shirt, and because we're very clever,
we that up 1 second.
Yep. And every year for the last about 5 years, we have had a shirt. What we do is we get contacted with the art director at Scranton High School, Ms. Ruddy, and she has her her students put together a design. And it's always on the back of the shirt. And
Nice. Wow.
This year, it's a student named Nate Holden won the competition, and we put these out. You can go to our website, stpatparade.com, and you can order one. And we like to think of this as the official shirt. We know there's about 100 different shirts on Parade Day, and people capitalize that, and we're thrilled. We like to know that.
You got the harp on there.
Yep.
Yeah, isn't that nice?
It is.
And this is a senior?
A senior, correct. Yep.
Wow.
Yep. And just talented kids. We often have a hard time picking the one that we want to use for that year because we get so many great designs.
So different students submit
different
ideas.
Students, yep, every year. So, and that's, we always talk about something a little different, and that's, I wanted to bring the shirt this year because I was thinking, well, what haven't I really talked about? And there are other things, but I oftentimes forget because we're doing so many things, and we're involved in so much with the parade. It really does have its tendrils out in different elements, but this has become a real great thing for us.
Well, you look at the students too, the technology that they're involved with anymore. 20 years ago you had an iron-on decal that you hand drew, but now you can make a silk screen or a decal from your computer and have it look as professional as this does.
No, it's quite impressive, and I'm always impressed with the kids over there and how well we do with that.
Sure. Who will be the Grand Marshal this year?
Grand Marshal is Dave Clark, and he's actually coming out of the ranks of the parade.
He's been one of the workers.
He's been the worker for a long time. Dave was parade director. He was my predecessor, and currently he's executive parade director. And, so we're going to give him the day off. So I don't know. He'll probably want to work too, but
you'll put him in a nice convertible and have him wave to the crowd. I mean, that's quite an honor.
Yep.
That's right.
Yes, it is.
It's not just a random selection. They do a lot of thought given to that. So, congratulations to him.
Yep.
There was a question, Rusty alluded to the fact that we had a representative from Pittston on last week to talk about their upcoming St. Pat's Parade. And a subject came up that we wanted to remind ourselves to ask you about. They found in their short amount of time that within a couple of years they had become, for the size of their city, too big. Mm-hmm. When does a parade become too big?
I think we're at capacity. We're at the point where we have, depending on the weather again, but about 10,000 people marching in the parade. And when we go down the line and count them up, now that includes 7 high school bands, 11 pipe bands, and several other bands. We've got a band from Philadelphia. The
Mummers.
The Mummers are coming again.
Yes.
We get them every few years.
Big is great, but less is more sometimes.
Right. Well, one of the things that we talked with the Pittston people about is we have 10 divisions. And we think of each division as its own inclusive parade because that's, we've got a band leading it off, usually 2 or 3 other bands, and then you have to find things without music to break it up so you don't have a cacophony coming down the street.
Yeah.
So that's fun, trying to figure out what goes where.
That's actually a challenge.
It is a challenge. The high school bands get rotated, and they know that. They, if you were in 7th, you're going to be in 3rd or 2 this year.
So there's no preference of this
Correct.
band is always number 1 and number 2. Right. Yeah, that's only fair.
A few with the tradition among the pipe bands. The Penn York Highlanders are always leading us off, and that's been the tradition. We always have a military band lead off. And this year, a great story about we're getting the Navy Fleet Band, which is something that we wouldn't have even thought we could because it's such a high profile. It's out of Norwalk, Virginia. They call it the Admiral's Band.
That's the high echelon band?
That's the high echelon. They approached us. And we're thrilled at this. And one of the reasons why we were approached was because we've had the Naval Academy Band. Well, some of these gentlemen and ladies who are on the Naval Academy Band are now getting into these positions of authority, and they had such a good time, they want to come back. And you know, we're thrilled, we're tickled that we had the Marine Band last year for the first time ever, and they were super. And that was another time that you know, we don't have to be looking for them anymore. They know,
coming to you.
They know, and they like it. And one of the things that the military band does in the morning before they march is they go to Gino Merli, the Veterans Center, and they play a concert there. There's
great.
not a dry eye in the house,
For the veterans,
you know,
that's
when they're done. And that's meaningful to us that we're able to do that. And it's something that, you know, doesn't get a lot of press, and I don't think it should necessarily. It's something for the veterans. But it's something that we're able to facilitate, and we really like it.
At what point in the planning does an organization like that ring you up and say, hey, do you have room for us?
This week, we got a call this summer. It was when we first started hearing from them, and you know, it was about scheduling, but they made it work, and they're excited to be coming.
You talk about the scheduling and the line of march and everything else. Not only is it a challenge from who goes first, who goes second, who goes third, but then you've got the calendar part of that to worry about as well.
Right.
Other commitments that they may have. That sort of thing.
Yeah, they're on a national basis too,
Right.
so they have a lot more commitments than say a local community.
Well, we were hoping that they'd be able to come in Friday night. In the past, we've had the military band play at Lackawanna College's, the People's Theater at Lackawanna College, and that gets a great crowd. They can't. They were really trying to. They would have loved to have come in and done that concert for us, a free concert, but they've got another commitment, so they're not going to get to Scranton until late Friday night, too late for that. But we've done that in the past, and again, we just say, hey, we'll give you a venue, and if you show up and play, and we'll fill the place.
How many years is this now, Jamie?
This will be 56.
Wow. 56.
So, yep.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, that's the longevity, and then of course the building every year getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yep.
And you had mentioned, I think it was last year, in answer to a question, that you've arrived at that point where some people are coming to you asking to be part of it. And of course this is...
You know you've succeeded when they call you.
Well, you've got the U.S. Navy Fleet Band coming to town. I mean, that alone would be something that would draw a gigantic crowd to a city to see a group like that. 10 divisions.
10 divisions,
Basically, what makes up one division?
Yeah, good question.
One division is usually, and I'll give you an example. Our third division is historically the Irish division. The local AOH groups, the Irish Cultural Society. So we try and get the theme. The theme is the third.
I see.
Third division is usually the Irish. We've got 3 step dance groups that come every single year. And so you could imagine trying to fit in a couple pipe bands, a high school band, 3 step dance groups, all, and then in such a way that you can enjoy it, because you don't want the second band coming up so quickly that you can't hear it. So basically we start off with a band, either a high school band or a pipe band. We'll lead the division off. Usually within each division there's 2 or 3 bands, depending on the size and how it works out. And filler, and not derogatory, but people without music or anything like that in between the various groups. And that's your civic groups, your different organizations. And we get everybody. Everyone comes, and we're thrilled. We want them here. We always
everybody wants to be part of it. I know that my grandson for a while was into the BMX bicycle racing. And Cedar BMX
every year
brings a group with young men and women with their bicycles to be part of the parade.
And that's the kind of thing that, especially if you have kids in the crowd, they're fascinated, to see the kids riding the bikes in the parade, doing stunts and doing, and you have, things like that everyone comes out to see. We have the Victorian high wheelers. And
those are the gigantic bicycles.
Gigantic bicycles. I'm always, my heart's in my throat watching these. But again, weather, they can't come if it's windy. But another group that every year, if they can come, they come, and they love it, and the crowd loves it. It's fascinating to see them.
That brings up a question when you talk about there are some that would be more weather susceptible than others.
Right.
I remember that the city of Hazleton virtually lost what was the second largest mummers parade in the state, because they had a couple of years in a row where they had horrible weather, and they couldn't bring out the mummers' costumes.
Really?
In the terrible weather, because the costumes would be ruined.
Because of the wind.
Sure,
and
Those elaborate costumes.
How much mobility do you have? How much flexibility do you have for a day before kind of decision?
Well, we don't. It's the one thing we do have. And I can tell you, any pipe band worth its salt is going to march no matter what the weather. Any high school band, these are Northeast Pennsylvania high school bands. They play through football games, they play all season. They come out in any kind of weather. We would lose some of the, and yes, like a mummers group. The other thing the mummers have told us over the years, the wind. They can't be out in those high costumes and things because they might get knocked over. But and also if it's a little damp, they have a problem. But most of who we get, the Navy bands marching no matter what. These are people who
95% of your participants are going to go. Whatever. When you think about 10,000 people marching, there's no shortage of people watching. We've talked about this before, but crowd estimates for your parade.
It's been as high as 100,000 people. And that's, of course, nice weather and all the rest, but 50 to 100 easily every year, no matter what. And the great thing is, I do the route a couple of times as to watch it. It's families, and they're all there, and they get there early, and they get their chairs, and they get set up, and that to me is the most important thing, to see the kids, and they're fascinated. It could be a little long because it's 3.5 hours sometimes, and for the little guys, but it is what it is, and we appreciate it when they come out.
Pardon me, not to be again derogative, but there had been occasionally a problem or two in the past with somebody imbibing a little bit too much, but you've had a pretty good relationship with the police of late, kind of monitor that.
And I talk about the Scranton Police Department is our partner in all of this, and it extends to the sheriff also, but the Scranton Police have this down to a science, and they tell us what to do, and we do what they want us to do. And they've been very good at policing the crowd and making sure that there aren't any issues. One little thing that with the district attorney's office and the Scranton Police we did a few years ago that has worked wonders. The bars don't open until 9 o'clock. It used to open at 7 o'clock, and those couple hours were tough. And a lot of times it's the younger people who haven't been through it a few times, and they don't realize that they should really watch themselves. But that has helped, but that's the kind of community outreach that they're able to do.
And traffic control too. The streets have to be closed early.
And one of the things that the traffic control, the Scranton Police has the Lackawanna Police Academy. The cadets have been great help the last few years.
And it's good training for them.
And it's wonderful training, and they have a requirement of service hours, so they're able to fulfill some of their service hours, and this is the best way to learn how to control traffic and control crowds. And the state police are here. The state police, I always say a couple of state troopers on horses, that calms a crowd down better than anything else.
What does it cost to put on a parade like the Scrantons?
Well, we pay the pipers, as I like to say, and we
figuratively.
Yes, and we pay the bands, the high school bands, so they can come. Our budget is somewhere in the $50,000 range, because we want these groups to come. We have to subsidize the military band. It gets them here. They know that we can.
You have to pay their expenses.
Correct.
To come in. That's why I figured it worked like that.
But people come and see the parade for free.
Of course.
So how do you fund the parade?
We have wonderful sponsors, and I can tell you this year, Mount Airy Lodge is a sponsor. Toyota of Scranton is a sponsor. These are the big sponsors for the parade. Who have come through year after year, and that's we ask them for donations. Some of them see it as more of a advertising or marketing, which is fine. It's wonderful for them. And that ties into, we have a relationship with WYOU, WBRE, who broadcast the parade every year.
I've been involved in it when I was on the beat, either riding in the parade, pardon me, or doing some of the interviews along the street. So that, I mean, that's, you really kind of got to add another audience to those 100,000 people that come out here.
I don't believe it.
I am shocked by how many people will tell me, I watch it on TV, or we watch it at the club.
A lot of folks won't brave the weather, even if it's, March is traditionally a very iffy month.
Yep.
Well, and you also have people in a lot of small communities way out of the area here that it's a drive for them to get here. They don't have their own parades, or if they do, it's a it's a 20-minute march.
You're right. Yeah.
So it gives them something to because everybody likes to celebrate the thing. Have you ever done any kind of math as to the economic impact of the parade on the city?
We have not, and we've talked about that. Those kind of studies are expensive. But it's probably something that we should do. I can anecdotally, that every hotel room in the county is taken that day. Every restaurant, every pub, every bar, just packed with people.
And it goes the same for the Steamtown Marathon and also other, like the Tomato Festival. You can't get a room within 30 miles. So it has to be good research, but research is not cheap.
No, no, and get good,
Exactly.
you need, but to get a good figure on it, we have no idea. All we know is that people are sleeping on couches because they can't get hotel rooms. So
well, there alone, you've got a big dollar value coming into the city. And you say the restaurants, because after the parade, that winds up usually 3:30.
3:30, yep.
Around 3:30. Yep. So people are heading out to dinner at that point, or as you say, visiting some of the pubs, which I know some of them kind of continue the musical. Theme, after.
That's right.
Well, I know a lot of the pipe bands will then do a tour. They'll go to the different places they'll play at Cooper's or someplace like that, and people are waiting for it. They really want to hear the band come through. And the one place I do encourage, especially people with kids, after or during the parade, is the Cultural Center. Scranton Cultural Center continues to have a great event. They have music pretty much all during the day. But you can go in there, sit down, they have hot dogs, they have soda, they have beer too. But it's a great family event. And that's one of the stops for a lot of the pipe bands. As they end the parade, they'll stop in there and play. But that's been great for the Cultural Center, and that they're sort of a partner as far as I'm concerned.
Are you in this job for life? Is this like a civil service
job?
I
think so.
I think forever or longer, or what?
So. I think so.
That's good. I know who to call.
Exactly.
The best way to enjoy this parade, if you're not marching in it, is to come and see it.
Right.
Find a nice spot, and it's basically a 2-mile route. So
Correct.
There's plenty of places to stop. Certainly on Courthouse Square, where in front of the reviewing stands that all of the bands and all the step dancers
they're going to pause.
They're all going to pause, and they're going to perform at that point. What advice might you offer to anybody who wants to come into town for the day to enjoy the parade?
Right. Well, one of the things to remember is the streets start closing about 10 o'clock, but you're still going to be able to get in. The police will let people in for parking and things, but it's going to get a little bit of a bottleneck. So if you're here a little before that, especially if you have kids, parking at the mall at Steamtown, Lackawanna Avenue is a great spot. And you have access to your car, and there's some places to eat over there. But all of the downtown parking garages will be open, and you'll be able to park in them. Lackawanna Avenue is a great spot because we have bleachers set up. So if you get there early enough, grab your bleacher, and you really do have a great view, especially when you're up a little bit higher. But anywhere along the route is special, and I'd suggest people, you get your spot, watch some of it, and take a little walk around town. Have something to eat. The Courthouse Square gets the food trucks.
A lot of vendors.
Vendors come with the food trucks, and people can go over there. That's becoming a sort of its own little picnic, or circus, or whatever you want to call it. And so I encourage people to go over there. You'll be able to get something to eat, and of course both the hotels, the Radisson, the Hilton,
that's the high end of yes.
I'm not mistaken. One or two of the parking garages actually overlook the parade route.
Correct.
Because I've seen people, they park their car
right.
and then they just go to the railing and watch the parade come by. And of course, another thing you want to keep in mind is that if you decide you're going to be at Courthouse Square, for instance, to watch everything, that the 12:30 start isn't really accurate because the parade has to get to you.
Yep.
So you've got some time there to...
We start at the cathedral, so it winds its way.
What time is the Mass?
The Mass is at 10 o'clock, 10 a.m.
Okay.
Yep.
And the run?
The run is at 11.
And then the parade, 12:30?
No, 11:45
11:45
is technically, yep.
When they start their
When they
march.
start, yep.
So it's going to be...
With the hope that they sort of get to the beginning by about noon or a little after noon. And they start broadcasting and the real excitement
And the staging is still down on Wyoming Avenue out by where the train yard is out there. Yes. Sure.
And the other thing I'd advise, especially people coming with kids, if they've never been here before, you will be in town for those 3.5 hours or so. It gets a little difficult to get out until after the parade is over, if you're in the parking garage or something. So plan on that. We have lots of Porta-Johns. We get more every year, so the kids will have some place to go if you can't get them in somewhere. But really, plan if you have to bring your own. Provisions, plan on being here a long time.
Date again?
March 11th.
March 11th. And information, if anybody wants to check, Facebook?
We have a Facebook page. We also have a website. It's stpatparade.com. Pat, not Pats, and that gives you all the information. We have our frequently asked questions page that grows every year because someone says, oh, I got asked this again, and so we add it to the page. So it's a good place to consult. We have links to the parking authority, so you can get an idea of when they are going to. The other thing we have is the bus schedule. People get a little confused about the bus schedule because they have to change some of the stops and things.
So that site again is?
It's stpatparade.com.
Okay. Jimmy Hailstone, thank you so much.
Thank you. Jamie. Thanks again.
And have a great parade.
Yeah, we will.
Okay, Rusty Fender, thank you.
See you next week.
Mark McGlory.
Thanks, Mark.
I'm David DeCosmo for ECTV Live. Until we see you again next week, here's hoping all your news is good.